Walking. It is something most of us do every day and without thinking. We walk over uneven terrains, avoiding obstacles when we need to. We can do it while looking around, talking to each other, and carrying loads, and it doesn't cost us much physical or cognitive effort. It does take the average human around a year of intensive training before it's able to control its legs sufficiently. But we are not interested in all those people who can walk right now. We are interested in those who have difficulties walking. In the USA and Europe, there are 300,000 new lower limb amputees every year. That is almost 1,000 amputations per day. Most of these amputations are below knee or transtibial amputations. 20% are above knee or transfemoral. The majority of them are caused by dysvascular diseases, diabetes type 2 being one of the most important. There are prostheses on the market which can replace these lost limbs, mostly passive devices. Unfortunately, these cause increased loads on the rest of the body, leading to problems in the back and healthy leg. The result of this is that more than half of the amputees never use a prosthesis, and they are bound to a wheelchair for the rest of their lives. In general, the higher an amputation, the more difficult the recovery afterwards. Not only are 2 joints gone, also the remaining force in the stump becomes smaller. Most people with an amputation because of dysvascular diseases also have decreased muscle strength in their other joints, making the rehabilitation even more difficult. One of the problems with these prostheses is that they are passive, just like these blades the pathletes use. After landing on the prosthesis, energy is stored in them by accepting the body weight. This energy can then be used to propel the body forward. The blade goes back to the initial position. A healthy leg, however, can add more energy to push the body forward by contracting muscles, which these passive prostheses can't do. If we want to make a prosthesis that approximates a healthy leg better, we must first learn what this healthy leg does during walking. This has been determined before by means of biomechanical measurements, translating the different muscle activities during one walking cycle into joint torques, velocities, and powers. These measurements show, for example, that for the ankle, there is a peak torque of over 120 Newton meters and a peak power of over 250 watts. If we plot torque versus angle, we can see these graphs, which represent the behavior of both joints during one step. They also give us the energetic behavior, showing that the ankle is an energy-producing joint, requiring an energy boost to push the body forward, and the knee dissipates energy, mainly coming from slowing the leg down after swinging it forward. Now, what do these numbers mean, and how difficult would it be to approximate this behavior by means of a prosthesis? This girl will help us understand. She would hold this kettlebell still in front of her, and assuming a weight of 40 kilos, this would lead to both her shoulders providing a torque of 120 Newton meters, just like the ankle at push-off. This would be the same as holding 3 full crates of beer bottles out in front of you. What we can do to get a better approximation of a healthy ankle is to add a motor to the prosthesis. We would also need a transmission to scale the motor output and a battery. Whereas passive prosthesis cannot inject energy, an active prosthesis can help an amputee by pushing him up stairs, allowing him to go step over step rather than step by step. Also on slopes, the amount of energy added or dissipated can be regulated, leading to better gait. The problem lies in the high capabilities of our healthy joints. If a motor needs to provide 250 watts and 120 Newton meters, it will be large and heavy, with a big transmission and requiring much energy. We can try to solve this problem by adding compliance or elasticity to our actuator. There are 2 options, adding the elasticity in series or in parallel to our motor. Why series elasticity? Imagine you are standing somewhere, someone hands you an arrow. He tells you to throw the arrow into a tree, which is a considerable distance away from you. You might wonder why you would want to do such a thing. If you would try, you would find it difficult. Now, if you would have had a bow, the task would become a lot easier. The bow, however, is passive and does not add any energy, but it allows you to amplify your power output. The same mechanism can be used in the ankle joint. While a direct connection between the motor/gear and the output would require a power peak of over 250 watts, adding the series spring can reduce this to just over 100 watts. Instead of providing one burst of energy, the energy is gradually stored in the spring. We can look at the behavior of an active prosthesis during walking. As soon as the foot touches down, energy is naturally stored in the series spring. While this is happening, the motor is adding extra energy, which is released at push-off where it is required. This brings me to the novelty of the two above-knee prostheses that have been developed and investigated during my PhD research. The ankle design had the series elasticity and a large number of variables like lever arm lengths and spring stiffnesses. The mechanism was optimized for minimum peak power, which is often done in state-of-the-art actuators. This does not necessarily lead to the most energy-efficient system. I made a dynamic simulation including the mechanical but also motor parameters, tuned based on benchtop experiments, and this resulted in a system with a 40% lower energy consumption for the same output. Also in the knee joint, a series elastic actuator was implemented, resulting in a system with more or less half the peak power, energy consumption and weight compared to no elasticity. Besides series elasticity, we can also explore parallel elasticity to reduce the requirements of an active prosthesis. Parallel elasticity can reduce the torque requirements. We could help our model from before, still holding up 3 crates of beer, by adding a parallel spring providing the same force but in the opposite direction. However, we also see that if we do that, it will be very difficult to move your arms back down, so we need to be able to move the spring out of the way. The knee joint of our prosthesis contains a lockable parallel spring. It can be used to accept the impact of the weight and then removed so the knee can bend when it needs to. Compared to the series elastic actuator described before, we can further reduce the peak power and the energy consumption by 30%. During my PhD research, all of these mechanisms were designed, implemented, controlled, and tested in 2 above-knee prosthesis prototypes. The final prosthesis allowed amputees to walk a natural gait, combining all of these energy-efficient mechanisms, and was able to assist during other tasks like sitting down and standing up. This was shown in the lab, but also outside during the Cybathlon event, where we could show our technology in an obstacle race inspired by daily life struggles of amputees. For some tasks, our prosthesis could surpass the capabilities of most widely used prostheses, enabling our test subject to step over obstacles in a limited space, or to climb stairs step over step, which he was not able to do otherwise. There is still a lot of work to be done in the field of active prosthetics, further increasing the capabilities, reducing the noise and weight. Hopefully in the future, losing a limb will not be as disabling as it unfortunately still is today.